Namaskar friends. The recent visit of the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir to the United States and his meeting with US President Trump provokes a question that why should the US President meet a Pak Army Chief and not the elected head of the Pakistan government? After all, Pakistan is supposed to be a democracy. But here's the thing. The fact that President Trump invited and hosted Army Chief Munir sent out a strong signal about where the US thought the power center was located and about the irrelevance of the civilian government. I am Tilak Devasher and you are watching The Great Game Reloaded. Let's decode this unique civil-military equation. In Pakistan, civil-military relations have been the central issue in governance. If one takes an overview of governments in Pakistan from the 1950s till the present, a clear pattern of alternating civil and overt military rule emerges. Since 1947, Pakistan has seen 4 direct military coups, with military rulers having governed Pakistan for over 34 years. And even when not in power, the army calls the shots. It influences foreign policy, it handpicks prime ministers, it controls nuclear weapons, it shapes narratives through the media and the judiciary. No elected prime minister has ever been allowed to complete his full 5-year term. When the civilians have tried to step out of line, they have been removed. Let that sink in. As an evergreen bureaucrat Rohidad Khan put it, the army decides when to abrogate the constitution, when it should be held in abeyance, when elected governments should be sacked, when democracy should be given a chance, and behind the scenes, they also decide whether an elected prime minister shall live or die. In a word, the army's way is Pakistan's way. Examples abound. Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was hanged, Benazir Bhutto was dismissed twice, Nawaz Sharif was ousted thrice, Imran Khan was removed, jailed, and disqualified. The same script replayed, civilian ambition punished by military wrath. Such a state of affairs could never have been imagined in 1947. At the reception given by Jinnah on Pakistan's creation on 14th August 1947, he made it clear to some serving officers, never forget that you are the servants of the state. You do not make policy. It is we, the people's representatives, who decide how the country is to be run. Your job is only to obey the decision of your civilian masters. Unquote. Could any politician have the temerity to say this to the army chief today? The answer has to be a resounding no. Hence, democratic government in Pakistan, instead of being a tripod of the executive, legislature and judiciary, looks more like a garden umbrella, in which the army is the central pole around which the other organs of the state revolve. In its essentials, the tussle between the civil and the military authorities in Pakistan is not just about power and supremacy. It is about the contempt that the military holds the politicians in, and about their belief that left to themselves, the political class will destroy Pakistan one way or the other, or at the minimum, compromise its vital security interests. As Lieutenant General Hamid Gul, former DG ISI, put it, and I quote, "A democratic government is by its very nature tends to compromise, and political compromise might sometimes run counter to the national interest." Unquote. The army, rather than the people's representatives, deciding what is the national interest. Such contempt is institutional. It is taught in Pakistan's National Defence College. It is published in the military's Green Book. Ayub Khan, Ziaul Haq, Musharraf routinely portrayed civilians as threats to national security. A consequence of such an attitude towards the civilians is the army's obsessive need to control every aspect of Pakistan's national security. But here's the thing. The army doesn't always need a coup to change governments. It has mastered the soft coup. This has been called being on the same page or a hybrid government. Here's how it works. Step 1. Discredit the civilian government through media leaks using select journalists. Step 2. Create an atmosphere of uncertainty. Step 3. Encourage political protests. Step 4. Use backroom pressure to orchestrate resignations from the government. The end result is that the incumbent government starts towing the line or is removed. Contempt for politicians apart, the army, since the inception of Pakistan, has not really believed that democracy is suited to Pakistan. For example, General Ayub Khan stated, and I quote, "They, that is the politicians, were given a system of government totally unsuited to the temper and climate of the country." Unquote. On another occasion, he stated, "We must understand that democracy cannot work in a hot climate. To have democracy, we must have a cold climate like Britain." Unquote. Echoing Ayub, but using Islam instead of climate, Ziaul Haq at a press conference stated, "Our present political edifice is based on secular democratic system of the West, which has no place in Islam." Musharraf gave his own twist by stating, "Our democracy is not mature in the country. Democracy has to be modified to an environment. That is the reason of my retaining the power of dismissing an assembly." However, every military dictator has had to civilianize himself because every military dictator realized that he could not govern a country as complex as Pakistan without the bloody civilians they had got rid of. Moreover, the systemic faults in Pakistan's economy are beyond the competence of the army to fix, even though it has managed to acquire and run a vast business empire. Ayub Khan and Yahya Khan co-opted Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. Ziaul Haq co-opted Muhammad Khan Junejo, and Musharraf had to get Taj Muhammad Jamali and Shaukat Aziz. The alternating civil and military rule suggests that neither the civilians nor the military have been in a position to provide suitable governance to the country. This raises the question I had posed in my first book, Pakistan, Quoting the Abbess. I had asked, is then Pakistan ungovernable, or are its leaders incapable of governing Pakistan? The jury is out on this critical question. There have been at least 3 occasions when elected prime ministers could have taken firm control of the army and clipped its wings. On all 3 occasions, the civilians faltered and failed. Bhutto in 1971, after the army's defeat in the then East Pakistan, could have put it in place. But his own anti-India zeal aligned with the army thinking. Nawaz Sharif in 1999 had Musharraf on the back foot post-Kargil, but delayed action and was himself removed in a coup. Asif Zardari in 2011, after the Osama bin Laden raid and Mehran base attack, failed to assert control. Each time, timidity or internal disunity allowed the military to bounce back stronger. So this provokes a question: why do politicians fail to challenge the army? Because many are complicit. They seek the army's backing to rise in politics, then find themselves trapped. When the army intervenes, civilians blame each other. There is no united political front. As one general said, and I quote, "There are no dissenters in the army, but in politics, there are only defectors." Unquote. Where this will end would depend entirely on the ability of the civilian leadership to retake control and provide leadership, and on the appetite of the army chief. How much would he want to assert control? As Ayub Khan told his son Gohar Ayub at a time when he was not well and the army chief General Yahya Khan was sniffing at power. He told him, and I quote, "You have served in the general headquarters and should know that if the commander-in-chief of the Pakistan army gets it into his head to take over, then it is only God above who can stop him." Unquote. The West bears some blame for the imbalance in civil-military relations. Washington and even Beijing have often preferred to deal directly with the army as the recent case of President Trump shows. Why? Because the army controls the nukes, because it ensures regional stability, because it guarantees access and cooperation, because it allows the use of its territory for bases, logistics, and overflights. In doing so, they have undermined Pakistan's democratic evolution. US scholar David Sanger, in his book Confront and Conceal, writes, and I quote, "When formal meetings with the Pakistanis were held for the cameras, American leaders would sit down with the Pakistani president or prime minister and laud the arrival of a democratically elected civilian government. This was almost entirely for show. When they wanted something done, they ignored the civilians and called Kayani." Unquote. Kayani was the then army chief. To conclude, at the heart of the distorted civil-military relations has been the failure of the democratic process to deepen and take firm roots. Despite the passage of 7 decades since its creation, Pakistan has been unable to create vibrant, mature, and credible democratic political institutions that can withstand the manipulations of the army. The fact that the military rulers have had to co-opt civilians to legitimize their rule is indicative of the fact that the army realizes its limitations. If the politicians did not have black sheep in their midst, and if they were able to close ranks and bide their time for power, it is unlikely that the army could either take over or prevent any democratic government in exercising full powers, including those relating to Pakistan's security. This, however, may be a tall order given the disruptive, personality-oriented and polarized nature of politics in Pakistan. In the near to medium term, Pakistan's civilian institutions and politicians are unlikely to have the required capabilities to genuinely exercise control over the military. That's why the army would be happy with the current hybrid government. Thank you for watching. Do like, share and comment. See you again soon with another topic and another anecdote. Until then, I am Tilak Devasher. Namaskar and Jai Hind.